I'll do it with a roll call. Cindy,
Cindy Matheson here.
Rob,
Rob Henry here.
our newest member after you,
Gene Pesci here.
Gene, and Ted Carr here. All right, great. And let's see, and I'm going off memory, is the first thing, Cassandra, an update from you?
Let's see. Could be
Public
comment. Yeah.
public comment, but you don't have any public here.
Okay.
So yes, the next thing is the project pipeline status. Cindy had requested at the last meeting that status just be given on the various projects that have either been undertaken or are being undertaken by the trust. So I'll just kind of briefly outline each one. 808 Jerusalem Road, the trust's commitment to date was $75,000, which was distributed to South Shore Habitat for Humanity. That project is completed. There are owner occupied. We are currently just waiting on approval from the state to have the units count on the town's SHI. 43 Elm Street Unit 2 has closed.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rob Henry, for absolutely being a rock star and signing and re-signing documents to get that done. So done, closed, and on the SHI. So not quite on the SHI yet, but should be.
Yes. So total profit was just over 78,000. And we are similarly to 808 Jerusalem Road. We have submitted to have it count towards the SHI. We're just waiting to hear back from the state. So
They approved the LAU application.
yes.
Okay.
The SHI is.
But the SHI is separate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all together. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!
Thank you, Rob.
390 CJC Highway, just 20 units that count there on the SHI, all 20 of those units count towards the town's SHI. 147 South Main Street, total commitment from the trust is $15,000. 10,000 has distributed to date. The trust agreement broke it out into 3 separate $5,000 payments. The last payment will be distributed when the unit is occupied. So it's not occupied yet. Hi, Paul. Just updating on
Will
the
you get
pipeline.
will you get credit for 3 units there once it's up?
Yes. Yep. Once it counts on the SHI, 3 units will count.
Okay.
And Cassandra, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm realizing our brand new member may not understand some of these 3-letter acronyms. Can you just give us a quick update so we know what we're all talking about there?
Sure. So
That's very thoughtful. Thank you.
sorry. So SHI is the town's the state's subsidized housing inventory. So the goal is to get at 10% of the town's housing stock is affordable, which would allow us to have safe harbor from any 40B projects should we choose.
And 40, you want to just give a second on?
Yeah.
40? Yeah.
Thanks. 40B is basically developers could go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and do multifamily housing projects, which to an extent would count towards the SHI, but most of these would be larger projects, large apartment complexes and things like that. So if we are over that 10%, then if we wanted to, we would have a right to deny them. We could still approve them, but we have the option. If we weren't over that 10%, we would not have an option of the.
That's within existing zoning rules or would that?
No, so that's the issue, is that
Okay.
40B allows the developer to be essentially exempt from zoning and to site the project wherever they like in the town that, you know, fits their project, but they don't have to comply with the existing underlying zoning. That's the deal that the state made. That's the policy choice that the state made
And it's
to
a
try
free
to
country, right?
encourage affordable housing, thinking it would get more development. If there's a 40B project that's, and the town is under the 10%, there's a minimum of 20 to 25% of the units would have to be affordable, and then all of the units, depending on whether it was ownership or rental, would count towards the town's SHI. That's the other incentive for the community to want these, because they help you raise your, and get you closer to the 10%.
And in practical terms, the Avalon project that's across 3A, that was built under a 40B
Mhm.
zoning rule.
I
To a
think the other
degree,
thing
it's
to
a
keep in
fast
mind-
pass
What?
for developers. To a degree, it's a fast pass for developers.
Correct, Paul.
Fast being,
Relative term.
it's relative. There's 180 days in which it combines all the permitting into one application. And there's a maximum of 120 days by which the comprehensive permit must be issued, although you can extend it by agreement. And I've had comprehensive permit projects that have taken 2.5 years to get to the permitting stage. So, it just depends. But yes, it should be faster and more efficient, but it depends on the project, whether it is or not.
Right, and there's no, and to try to, not to, I don't want to take away the meeting,
That's
but in order to, that 40B, is that the same situation that the towns have been suing the state over to not comply?
No.
with?
No,
That has
that's,
to do with the
That's-
transportation, right?
that's MBTA.
Okay.
And that requires a certain density of housing within a certain distance of particular types of transit nodes.
Right.
And it only requires zoning. It doesn't require actually production of the housing. But it is yet another step the state has taken that removes local control. And so many communities decided that that they've reached their limit on the state telling them how they need to, because zoning is supposed to be local under the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights and the Home Rule Authority. And so many communities have just said enough. The SJC has said, too bad, the state has the right to do this. And now the next case pending is whether or not the MBTA communities is an unfunded mandate based on a decision that came out of the auditor's office over the summer. But the underlying legal authority for the change to 40A, which is the land use statute, it's the planning and land use statute in Massachusetts, that has been found to be fine by the Supreme Judicial Court.
But there's no way around 40B. 40B is, in
Nope.
one case, you're giving up state funding, right? And the other, but in 40B, there is no way around
No.
it. It is what it is. That's-
Nope.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
Thank you.
And on the transit, Cohasset passed the zoning regulations that we were required to pass at town meeting a while ago. So we're okay on that, we're not suing.
Right. Yeah, no, I heard about that. Thank you.
There's just one other comment on it, it's not a law or anything else, but the idea of a town having an affordable housing trust, we maintain control pretty much about election of the different things that go on and making sure we abide by it, because if we don't, the state takes over.
Right.
And nobody would really want the state to take over for your town. They will care less about anything other than getting that number up.
Right.
So that's what the incentive is for this committee to keep going and doing what they do. And I don't think enough people realize that. Maybe Harris could even expand on that, but
Yeah, and one last question. How close are we to our 10% goal?
We're
So
over.
right now we are
Over.
over 10% with the
it was
2020
Avalon-
census.
Avalon that a few years ago that put us up there.
Uh-huh. Great,
Yeah.
great.
So
Can I ask-
the,
Sorry to interrupt.
that's okay.
One Pleasant is, now that that's switched over to apartments, has that gone into our affordable housing stock?
So that's next on my update.
Oh,
Just going in order of the
Sorry.
document I shared. So 8789 Cushing Street, that's 4 total units. Those all count towards the town's SHI. 1 Pleasant Street is a total of 14 units. The project got delayed a little bit in terms of getting things counting on the SHI and LAU approval. So they came back to the planning board and got approval to revert them back from condos to apartments, so ownership to rentals. So now they will be rentals, which means, for your knowledge, Jean, that all of the units, whether or not they're actually affordable, will count towards the SHI.
Oh, really?
Because they meet the 25% minimum. And once you, if you have 25% of your rental units as affordable, under the guidelines for 40B, the state allows you to count all of the units, even though you're only actually providing 4, in this instance, affordable units, you get to count all 14 units as affordable.
And if they were condos, you'd only get the actual 4.
Got it.
Right.
Right, if it's ownership, you only count the actual units. If it's rental, you can count the 25%.
Great.
So to answer your question, Paul, the LEU, when they were ownerships, was approved by the state. But now that they are going to be rentals, the regulatory agreement has to be adjusted, and the applicant's attorneys are working on that currently.
That should put us in a comfortable spot, though.
It should put us in a
Do you have a number roughly once those are added in?
no, because I don't know what that baseline housing stock number is.
Right.
Okay.
But 14 is better than 4.
Oh, goodness, yes.
So, you know, we're moving ahead.
You'll let me
I-
know if you need anything on the regulatory agreement, or if you're having town council look at it, that's fine, however you are.
Yeah, I
however you're
haven't
doing
seen
it.
the draft yet from Attorney DeLisi, so just
Okay.
waiting on that. But thank you.
Can I add one thing
Ever.
just for Jean's understanding? The 8789 Cushing Street, those affordable units were bought on an offsite makeup for what was required by the Cohasset Hospitality Partners that built all of the condos in the harbor area. So they were also required under the zoning agreement to provide, I think, 2 or 3 affordable units. And it made more sense rather than having those units in the condo there.
The 3 million plus condo.
Well, and they'd also, whoever had them would be responsible
bit of an
for all of the
actual- a little bit of an
the
oxymoron
HOA
there.
expenses
Yeah.
and such.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
High.
They purchased a house that has 4 units off-site, which makes much more sense in terms of affordable units that doesn't have an HOA.
This makes sense.
So my point is, that worked out really well for all concerned. And we wound up with more housing, more affordable units than they were required to give us. So
Great.
it's just important, not every development has to have the units exactly within their, whatever they're constructing. If they're able to provide housing elsewhere that meets the demand, that's possible, and that's what they did in this case.
Now,
Right.
that's
Thank you.
because, not to make this even more complicated, that was a planning board approval for a special permit. And there's some inclusionary zoning, which means you have to have some affordable units when you are permitting a special permit over a certain size. That's different from the 40B comprehensive permit project, which is through the zoning board. So there's some ability to get some affordable units through the planning board, through the special permit process, when you have projects of a certain size. And then you have the 40B process, which requires affordable units, must be on-site affordable. But the planning board had discretion in their special permit to decide whether or not to allow those units on-site or off-site, and did there was a lot of discussion about that, but they're different kinds of units. And that's why they can have those affordable units off-site in that particular project.
Great, thanks.
So I believe in the bylaws, they actually state that you could place them elsewhere in town and not be contiguous to the property that's being approved.
Yes.
The special permit process is governed under what? Not 40B, but under town?
Under
Zoning?
the town zoning, and it's overseen, the special permit granting authority is typically the planning board there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And are these 4 units already counted, Cassandra?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
they've been up and running for a while.
That is
87.
8789 Cushing Street.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah. Okay.
Moving along, so those are like physical structures, and then moving into just straight land. So the trust currently has 39 Mill Lane, which is a town-owned lot. A warrant article transferred the deed over to the trust. That's just kind of the general status on it. Potentially could be used for a sale similarly to 25 Heather Drive, or potential for maybe a Habitat for Humanity type home. The trust hasn't made a decision one way or the other. And then 25 Heather Drive was the other lot of land that you guys obtained through a warrant article, that sold for $89,889. And that's it.
Cassandra, can you let me know how 39 Mill Lane is zoned when you get a chance?
Like what zoning?
What
district
zoning
it's in?
district it's
Yeah.
in?
I sure can.
Because that will impact how and what
Yes.
the trust might want to do with it.
I believe it's one of the residence districts. I'm just not sure which
Yeah,
one. If I
there was
had
a-
to
there was
guess,
a
I would say
claim-
residence B.
The claim is that the lot is not buildable, but it hasn't been determined by planning if it's not buildable.
Because of, do you know why, Paul? Is it a frontage issue? Is it a size issue?
I think it's the size over lot,
Okay,
overall lot size, it's small.
yep. Yeah, and again, obviously, that all depends on the zoning district it's in.
Yeah. It's the same issue that you ran into on Heather, you know, is it a buildable lot
Yeah.
or not? Yeah.
Right.
It is
Can I have,
in residence
ask a
B.
question?
Residence B.
I don't know if Paul knows or cares anyway, but I work with lots of builders around, and I happen to have a builder that's very interested in building for housing. So these pieces of land, are we in, is it right for us to say something about if they want to get involved in building a unit on these pieces of land? Is that appropriate for us to do?
Have to do an RFP. The town would have to do an RFP to transfer the land.
Okay.
And, so it would have to be open for bid.
So they would have to
Just
buy.
like 808 you would have to go through the same process you did on 808 Jerusalem.
So that you can't build something on the land, I mean, in other words, if you had a land, you want to build a house, you'd hire a builder to build a house, you wouldn't have to sell the land. So is that possible under these circumstances?
You would also have to have an RFP to build for the building as well.
Okay.
Either goods, services, real property, you have to go through the RFP process.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the trust would have to make a decision as to whether or not it wanted to be a landlord. Because if it was obviously just having someone build the house, it would have to manage that process. And so the trust would have to decide if it wants to be a construction manager, if it wants to manage a property, depending on what it does with it afterwards. It could, build the house and then sell the house, assuming you could build a house on the lot. But it would have to go through the RFP process to get the builder to build the house. And then it would have to go through the RFP process to sell the house on the lot that was built.
Yeah,
Those
that's-
processes are governed by the town? The
Those are
RFP
processes governed by state law, procurement
Okay.
processes through state law,
So there are.
chapter 30B.
And they govern the RFP process then as
Yes.
well? Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we decided we do not want to be landlords or construction managers from previous experience.
Correct.
Yeah, this is what, yes, Ted's familiar with mass development, so this is what they do is they finance and refurbish, military bases and brownstones. And another group called the Property Casual Initiative, they do the same thing in the inner cities. But they get funding on a regular basis from the State House. And they're chartered to specifically build housing, so it's different than it would be as you described. You would have to have a separate quasi-town agency that would be able to manage money and have decision-making processes where you wouldn't have to go out for bid in order to make it work. And so you would have to set up a quasi-town agency that would be able to manage it, similar to how these other agencies are set up within the state. And I think that our town's too small for something structured like that. We don't have a lot of land or a lot of facilities that would be desirable to convert to housing. So it usually works in geographical areas where there's a lot of industry that is left over, a long period of time, and they're converting them all to housing. So it's the best use of your time would probably be to determine through the planning board if it's a buildable lot. If it is, then you go out for bid to sell the property to a contractor who wants to put the appropriate size house there. And hopefully sell it for more than 89,000. So that would be the preferred path, I think, for Mill Lane. And if it's not buildable, then perhaps you could sell the lot to abutters who may want to own the lots as you did on Heather, or if there's an opportunity to sell it to a conservation group, and they would make it a park, or they leave it as open space. But there should be some monetary value or some financial consideration for the property, for sure.
Could I make a suggestion? This is all incredibly helpful. Why don't we on our next agenda we'll post each of these topics, and I'm excited to hear from Paul on other things. So why don't we just then have a further discussion on how we all together want to recommend to proceed? Would that be helpful to everybody?
Yeah, and that would give me an opportunity to do my own analysis as to whether it's buildable or not. I need to look at the zoning code and the table of uses, and then I need to look at the description of the property. And so I can pull that together and talk to Cassandra, or Cassandra can pull it together, whatever, either way. And that will give you some more information about how you might want to plan to go forward.
That sounds great. All right, let's see. We keep interrupting Cassandra.
That was actually the end of my list.
Oh.
So next on the agenda is an update from Paul Kearse on the steering committee.
Okay, and Paul, we have a new member with us. Could you briefly introduce yourself, but also your committee?
Sure. So Paul Kearse, 39 Old Coach Road, chairman of the Affordable Housing Steering Committee. The steering committee was set up by the select board for the sole purpose of being the investigational arm, if you will, for affordable housing in the town. So our goal is to identify where the town stands relative to 40B, and then also review any town-owned property to see if any of those properties can be converted to buildable lots and then further built into affordable housing. One of the other things that we do is we work with the master planning group and came up with we have our own housing plan that's registered with the state. And part of that plan is seeking affordable housing that may not be deed restricted as well. So we're also looking for opportunities to provide affordable homes in Cohasset that are in a reasonable income level where folks could afford to live, maybe in a smaller home as opposed to something quite large that is more expensive than the average medium income. So those are the things that we primarily do. And so everything that we do as a steering committee is exactly that. We kind of steer subject matter and bring it to where we think it best fits. And we're tied to the housing trust because the trust is the arm that handles the transactions along with the financial side. And the trust is set up primarily to make decisions and engage in transactions without having to wait to go to town meeting in most cases. They still do have to go to town meeting on movement of property and certain aspects of getting money into their fund. But the trust primarily can spend money throughout the year without us having to go to town meeting on certain things. So it kind of ebb and flows with what we're trying to do when it comes to housing. So that's primarily what we do.
And we're
Thank-
incredibly thankful for it.
So with that said, for the month of November, we're actually taking the month off. We just couldn't get a time where we could all get together, so we decided to postpone until December. And but where we are now is just based off of the items that Cassandra had stated, 2 units of at 808 Jerusalem, 1 at 43 Elm. And then 3 units at 147 South Main and the 14 units at Pleasant Street. If all those get into our housing stock, I would hope by the 2030 census, we would have 20 new units, is how I add that up. And that means that it has to equal 10% or more of our new housing stock since 2020 census. So I don't know if I'm doing simple math the wrong way, but it looks like over 10 years, we could afford to build, I don't know, 100 to maybe 200 houses. I don't know how that works, Cassandra, with state calculations. So if we're adding 20 new units, deed restricted as affordable, that is certainly a huge force, because you're just adding the 390 CJC, which is the Stop and Shop Plaza. That was 20 some odd units there that helped us get over where we were to get to the 10.3 or whatever it is in 40B. So this is kind of a big hit for us. I think that based on home building in Cohasset, we'd have to see how many new homes were built and added to our housing over the last 5 years versus what might be coming in the next 5 years. So that's what we would like to figure out is there a way that we can guesstimate before the 30 census how we're tracking? I don't know. So Cassandra would have a better idea on that. I will tell you though that what will take the wind out of our sails is that there is a large swath of property off of Jerusalem Road in which a private LLC corporation owns and is looking to put in anywhere from 10 to 20 homes on that property. And so obviously if that gets put in by 2030, that would affect certainly where we are in relations to the housing stock and the percentage that we need to be at. So that's kind of a preliminary picture of where we are. That the folks with that property came in front of the sewer commission to talk about being able to be hooked up to sewer. And then once they go through the decision process, then they would move on to the planning board and conservation. And there's a lot of hurdles that they have to go through. So we don't know what the outcome of that will be, but it's certainly on our radar. The other updates that we have is we came to you to pay for a company to go out and kind of physically walk some properties to see if there was an ability to build homes on them. One of them was the property on Pond Street and 3A, which was the old Esposito place. So we paid someone to go out there, take a look at that. You could squeeze maybe one dwelling there. But the issue we had was there was so much wetlands there. There is a river running under it. On both sides of the property are or conservation restrictions on both properties, to the extent that it would be a major challenge for a dwelling to be put there. So we decided as a committee to refer that property to the town for other uses such as open space or just deed restrict the whole thing as conservation land, which is what I think they should do. I don't know if you've seen, but they did tear down the Esposito building recently. I would hope that they decommissioned the septic system that was there, as it was it was still an active septic system that was in good shape. So we're not sure what's going to happen to that property. There was a group that attended our open public meeting that stated they were looking to maybe turn it into a park. And I'm not sure what committee in town that was, but we haven't heard more of that. The other property we looked at was at the end of Evergreen Lane, which is a dead end road that then, if you were to travel, goes around Old Pasture. It goes behind the Osgood School. The property then further travels down the hill, all behind the Music Circus. We originally were looking at the first 4 or 5 acres to see if we could put 2 or 3 regular homes there. Again, this is something we talked about, not putting any type of homes that would be, large. We were looking at smaller homes, like a cape of some sort, in which we'd see if 1 or 2 of them would be deed restricted, perhaps not all 4 of them. But we just wanted to find out if that property was buildable. Because there is sewer there is an opportunity where you could put some homes there. When we presented that at our public meeting, we had about 25 to 30 residents show up. In fact, they had a person who represented them that wrote a very lengthy letter to our committee and also submitted it to the select board, stating all the reasons why they shouldn't build any homes there. And in that letter, it cited multiple properties where we could build homes. We started to investigate those, and so far we haven't found that any of the properties they suggested would be something you could build on. We're still kind of going through that list right now. And during that meeting, where we were looking just to do something at the end of Evergreen with just 3 or 4 homes, there was a group from Old Pasture that was concerned about all of the property behind the Music Circus, which then kind of opened up a can of worms into stating that there is about 12 to 14 acres there. Now, we've known about the 12 to 14 acres for quite some time. It's something that we once talked about 6 or 7 years ago, where you would do something with what's called 40R, which is like a workforce housing, which are homes that are built specifically in a limited size, and people that would qualify for that would qualify under workforce housing. Now, I don't believe it counts towards 40B, but there would be regular size homes. So I know you have a subject matter expert there who could probably clarify that better than I can, but
It's transit-oriented homes. It requires zoning changes. That's often the challenge in communities. Usually the project comes with a zoning, an amendment to the zoning laws to allow the project there, because it's not a 40B. It needs to be within a certain distance of the commuter rail station. I don't know whether it is or not, but it certainly could be, since the train goes through there. I imagine it's fairly close to one of the stations. And then there is a requirement for, there's typically a requirement for affordable housing, or you could make a requirement for affordable housing. And I did just check your zoning bylaw, 10% affordable for any project of 5 or more units. So the Jerusalem Road parcel would have to have 10% if they built 10 or 20 houses. And then the 40R, I think there's a 25% affordable requirement on 40R, but I haven't looked at the statute in a while, so I'd have to go back and take a look, but I can certainly look at it by the next meeting.
okay, so we were looking at that particular spot. This goes back 6 years ago. We were actually looking at individual homes, nothing contiguous, and we were looking at the 40R. Now, I thought, and maybe you can help me out, I thought there was a restriction on the size of the homes. I thought it was something like 900 to 1,200 square feet or something, or there was a square footage, I thought.
I'd have to take a look. I haven't
Okay.
looked at the details in quite some time, but I certainly can have that for a discussion at our next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. So if somebody were to put in a neighborhood, if you will, so 10% of those homes would have to be deed restricted.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
according
they
to our
would have to
bylaws,
be
right?
subject to a regulatory agreement and be able to be listed as local action units. So nothing more than for a development of 5 or more has to have that requirement. Has to
Okay.
meet that requirement, excuse me.
Yeah, I've always been focused on the contiguous property thing, because that's what we've had in front of us.
Yep.
So that's good to know. I don't know that the contractor may know that. That's good news.
Well,
That-
they'll need it. It'll be spelled out in any permits they get from the planning board. So
Okay.
whether the contractor knows it or not, the planning board certainly does.
Okay, awesome.
Paul, can you get that letter to Cassandra? I'd be interested in just taking a quick look. I'm interested in what their legal rationale is for why those lots shouldn't be developed and if that is
Oh, the
sound or
Evergreen
not.
thing?
Yeah, do you have it?
Yeah, I have it. I can send it
Can
to
you
you.
just send me a copy? Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. It would be, and has the trust member seen it?
No.
I mean,
Should
it,
we-
I don't
I have not.
think so. Jane certainly hasn't, because you weren't on the trust then.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we haven't seen.
I don't think I sent it to you.
it might be just useful for them to.
I'll
Yeah.
send it to everybody.
That'd be great. All right, any questions for Paul Kears?
Oh, I have one. Paul, when we spoke like a while back, you mentioned about the building manager for 1 Pleasant Street having to go through a lot of different hoops to move it back from condos to rental units, and he had incurred a lot of additional administrative costs. We talked briefly about, is there a rationale for supporting him in some way financially, as we did with the fellow who's building on 147 South Main Street? Do you still?
Right, so I had a brief conversation with their attorney at the time. Because I'm a sewer commissioner, we were closing out issues on the property and we had talked about it. I think that it would be a great gesture on our part to talk to him to see if there's, he had apartments and then was encouraged to convert them to condominiums for the sole purpose of selling it to the town. And then none of that worked out, as we all know. He's had a tough time moving the property, so he's converting it back to apartments because it's in his best interest to succeed as a business. And I recommended that they come to the trust to see if there's an opportunity to help offset some of those costs directly related to converting it back to apartments. So I could reach out to them to see if they're interested or not. They may not be. I could find out.
If you wouldn't mind, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, because we did help out 147.
Yep.
So we do have that opportunity to do so. So
Can you get me a copy of the agreement for 147?
Yeah, I think if we have the opportunity to kind of ease the pain for some of these folks just to get started, right? You kind of want to jumpstart these because, once they deed restrict to affordability, they've got to hire a consulting firm to go in now and help them understand how they get tenants and maintain tenants and rotate tenants. So I think it's an opportunity for us to help them get started rather than, with the last thing we want to do is have people fumble out of the gate and we have empty units.
Yeah, and I know that was the rationale behind helping
Right.
out with 147, because they had no experience in how to even manage a lottery or anything else.
Yeah, and that's fine. The anti-aid amendment does not allow municipalities to give money to private entities to spend public funds for a private purpose. But here, I think you'd have to show just some, rational relationship between what you're giving the money for and be clear that they're using it for this certain thing, and then you'll be fine.
Good,
And, an agreement, and I've asked Cassandra to send me the agreement that you used for 147.
excellent.
So we could probably put together something similar.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Paul, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
our best to the group. We really appreciate everything you do.
No problem at all. We'll be back at it in December, and I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
And to you.
Take care.
You as well.
Thank you now.
Awesome. Let's see. Cassandra, help me out. We had one other thing and we had some bills and things.
Yes, so you have some administrative items. Minutes from October 8th is first.
All right. So the October 8th minutes, does anybody have any questions about the minutes? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion we approve the minutes from October 8th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Wonderful. Do I need a roll call? Can we just vote this?
No, you have to have a roll call vote because you're hybrid.
Got it. Okay, so Gus,
Jean?
Gene Pesci, aye.
you look like my cousin, and that's why I keep on you. Sorry.
That's
Apologies, I will get it right.
better than my cousin Vinny, right?
Okay, that's an aye. Let's see, Rob Henry,
Rob Henry, aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, I.
Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Ted Carr, aye. Okay, that's great.
And then next for administrative items, you have the final water and sewer bill for 43 Elm Street Unit 2, which was in the amount of $238 even.
I saw that. That seems straight to me. Does anybody have questions about that?
No, of course, is that the last expense we will have?
Yes.
And it's already been paid anyway, right?
No.
No, it hasn't been paid yet. Okay, that's fine.
So I'll make the motion to pay it.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah,
No,
aye.
we have to go roll call.
Roll call.
Oh,
Sorry.
all right. Somebody start.
Gene Pesci, aye.
Okay, great.
Aye.
Rob,
Cindy Matheson, I.
and Cindy, okay, and Ted's an aye. Yep.
Rob Henry, aye.
Okay, and Rob Henry, aye. Great.
Then Gus.
I already voted. Gene Pesci, aye. You can call me Gus, that's all right.
Pardon me.
And then that's it. Your next meeting is December 10th.
Yeah. Can I, there's just one topic I wanted to mention, Paul Grady, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just convey on behalf of me and I'm sure others here, the select board, you specifically have been having a tough go at it. And I just wanted to say thank you to you and to everything that you do, and to the board. On a good day, nobody's happy with you in the role that you have, but you have all been professional, and I just wanted to be remembered to all of you and just say thank you for all you're doing.
Here, here.
That means a lot, and thank you so much. We had a couple good attacks.
Yeah.
I got one personally for that really, really bothered me, but what are you gonna do? I don't understand them, but this is what's so beautiful about Cohasset is you don't have to look far to get people to get involved with things, and people give their time and their energy, and we find people with expertise to help us solve very complex issues. I think the Board of Selectmen today is a great board, and it just, on a good day, it's a tough situation anyway, but you guys have been very professional, and I just wanted to be remembered to you. So thanks for duking it out. well, I'm gonna convey that to the board and thank you all.
Yep.
I return the sentiment to this group as well.
We'll still be here, all of us, but anyway, thank you. All right, does anybody have any further questions? No, and we'll have our next meeting on December 10th.
Yes.
Cassandra, thank you for what you do, and the minutes are excellent. I want to thank our new friend to that environment. It's a tough job, but thank you for doing such a great job with it. So if nobody has anything further, why don't we take a motion to adjourn?
Last thing is happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, and then a roll call.
Paul
Dean
Grady.
Pesci, aye. Sorry, Paul.
All right. Everybody there okay? Rob? or-
Cindy Mathis and I.
Okay, great.
Rob Henry, aye.
Ted Carr, aye. All right, thank you all. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll see you in December.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Hey.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye all.